Ruth. Eliminate. Okay. So for today, beautiful people, that's horrible. That's horrible. All right, y'all. This is bringing up the book of Ruth here. Okay, let's see this over a little bit. Okay. Boom. Shalom, shalom, auntie, shalom, and Pam. Okay, so boom, yeah. Dana, question: did we read in the Legends of the Jews that Yah was an angel? We heard about the angel of Yah. Shalom, shalom, Josiah. Not that I recall, Dana. Did we? I know we read about the angel of Yah, but I don't think we read that Yah was an angel. I mean, he's like the creator of the earth. I don't think he himself is and when you, I mean, I don't think it was put like that. But Yah created the angels or the messengers. Why did you think you think we read it? You thought I said it or something? Okay, good morning, Levine. All right, beautiful people. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. It is March the 18th, 2021. Day 105 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 774. All right, y'all, we're starting the book of Ruth today. I'm deciding, shucks, it's only 4 chapters. We'll see. We know what it's about. We know it's about Ruth and Naomi and Oprah, right? Orpah. They got an Orpah. We call them Oprah. But anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. Orpah. So let's go ahead get started here with the Shema. I think Salama Alicia Yasalama. I think we just read the whole 4. Yeah, because it's not gonna take that long. They're really short chapters. So we're gonna do all of Ruth today. He covers us with his wings. Oh, okay, Dana. Oh, so I don't think necessarily it would be that he himself has wings. I don't know. I just kind of always likened that to that it was referring to his angel's wings, because his angels belong to him, so his wings, that's a good question though. Maybe I'm thinking about it wrong. Psalms 91, and that's one of my favorite chapters. But that's a really good question now, but I don't think that's just my thinking, because I'm going to say, under his wings you shall take refuge. Right, yeah. That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm going to just say I've always likened it to he will arise with healing in his wings. I know there are multiple scriptures like that, right? It really is. You can really go through all the Psalms, and you're right. He will arise with healing in his wings and in his beams. I believe that comes from Isaiah. Yeah, that is a really good. Oh, Malachi. Yeah. Oh, you got a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna just be honest. Like I said, I've just always, when I've read it and clearly I've noticed it said it, but I didn't think deep into it about he himself being the one having wings. But it is something, you got me thinking about that. But I'm just, I mean, if he wanted wings, I mean, I guess he could, right? But I just never, that's I never thought about that. It's a good question though, Dana. But like I said, I've just always likened it to his angels, it referring to his angels and not actually like wings attached to his body himself. Simply because I know like each angel, they are assigned to different things. Although it's Yahuwah that's directly behind things, he uses the forces of the angels, and not all angels have wings. You know, I mean, I know what we see on TV, but I definitely believe some do. I definitely believe some do, but I don't think all of them do. I know they definitely all don't. I heard it in another video, and then I remember us talking a lot about the angels. Couldn't remember. Yeah, but like I said, I've just always likened those verses to it being Yahuwah using the angelic forces. You know. Yeah. You know. Okay. So, but now, clearly the thought is never going to leave my mind, and as I read, I'm going to be really paying attention to it. You know. So, but okay, that's a good question though, Dana. All right, beautiful people, let's get started here with the Shema. Good day, Nikki. Good day, good day. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and you shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as he has commanded us. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and hop right to it over here in the book of Ruth. Elimelech moves his family to Moab. In the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came upon the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab, taking his wife and his 2 sons with him. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife was Naomi. Their 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And when they reached Moab, they settled there. Then Elimelech died, and Naomi was left with her 2 sons. The 2 sons married Moabite women. One married a woman named Orpah, and the other a woman named Ruth. About 10 years later, both Mahlon and Chilion died. This left Naomi alone, without her 2 sons or her husband. And we read deeper details about what happened to all 3 of them, right? That was a couple days ago. But on the way, Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back to your mother's homes, and may Yahuwah reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. May Yahuwah bless you with the security of another marriage." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they all broke down and wept. "No," they said, "we want to go with you to your people." But Naomi replied, "Why should you go on with me? Can I still give birth to other sons who could grow up to be your husbands? No, my daughters. Return to your parents' home, for I am too old to marry again. And even if it were possible, and I were to get married tonight and bear sons, then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not, my daughters. The things are far more bitter for me than for you, because Yahuwah himself has raised his fist against me." And again they wept together, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. But Ruth clung tightly to Naomi. "Look," Naomi said to her, "your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same." But Ruth replied, "Don't ask me to leave you and turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Yahuwah punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she said nothing more. So the two of them continued on their journey. When they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited by their arrival. "Is it really Naomi?" the woman asked. "Don't call me Naomi," she responded. "Instead, call me Mara, for the Almighty has made life very bitter for me. I went away full, but Yahuwah has brought me home empty. Why call me Naomi when Yahuwah has caused me to suffer, and the Almighty has sent such tragedy upon me?" So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. They arrived in Bethlehem in late spring at the beginning of the barley harvest. Shalom, Joanne. All right. Ruth chapter 2. Now there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. One day, Ruth, the Moabite, said to Naomi, "Let me go out into the harvest fields to pick up the stalks of grain left behind by anyone who is kind enough to let me do it." Naomi replied, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters, and as it had happened, she found herself working in a field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law Elimelech. While she was there, Boaz arose from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "Yahuwah be with you," he said. "Yahuwah bless you," the harvesters replied. Then Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is that young woman over there? Who does she belong to?" And the foreman replied, "She is the young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She asked me this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes rest in the shelter." Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the young women working in my fields. Which part of the field they are harvesting. See which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to treat you roughly, and when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drawn from the well." Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. "What have I done to deserve such kindness?" she asked. "I am only a foreigner." "Yes, I know," Boaz replied, "but I also know about everything you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I have heard how you left your father and your mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. May Yahuwah, the God of Israel," Dana, listen. "May Yahuwah, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done." Yeah, I don't think it's actually talking about wings. I think it's actually kind of just like referring to the shelter that he provides. And then again, I could be wrong. Like, y'all could have wings. I don't know. I'm not saying he does. Don't nobody go out here and say, "Oh, we can't listen to her no more. She done said the Most Holy got wings." I'm not saying that. We're just talking about what we're reading and what Scripture has. Now that Dana has brought it to my attention, I'm going to see it everywhere. Well, okay, I'm going to read that again. Verse 12. This is Ruth. Chapter 2, verse 12. "May Yahuwah, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully for what you have done." Yeah, that's what, Alicia, I always thought it was a metaphor for protection too. Yeah, but, okay. Yeah. I mean, I still think that, but I've never heard the question put as Dana put it before, but it's a good question because you see it all through Scripture and we just kind of never really thought about it, right? Okay. "I hope I continue to please you, sir," she replied. "You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not one of your workers." At mealtime, Boaz called to her, "Come over here and help yourself to some food You can dip your bread in the sour wine. So she sat with his harvesters, and Boaz gave her some roasted grain to eat. She ate all of what she wanted and still had some left over. When Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some heads of barley from the bundles and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up, and don't give her a hard time." So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that evening, it filled an entire basket. So she carried it back into town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the roasted grain that was left over from her meal. "Where did you gather all this grain today?" Naomi asked. "Where did you work? May Yahuwah bless the one who helped you." So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in whose field she had worked. She said, "The man I worked with today is named Boaz. May Yahuwah bless him." Naomi told her daughter-in-law, "He is showing kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. That man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers." Then Ruth said, "What's more, Boaz even told me to come back and stay with his harvesters until the entire harvest is completed." "Good," Naomi exclaimed. "Do as he has said, my daughter. Stay with his young women right through the whole harvest. You might be harassed in other fields, but you will be safe with him." So Ruth worked alongside the women in Boaz's fields and gathered grain with them until the end of the barley harvest. Then she continued working with them through the wheat harvest in early summer, and all the while she lived with her mother-in-law. Greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. Greetings. Ruth chapter 3. One day, Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, it's time that I found a permanent home for you so that you will be provided for. Boaz is a close relative of ours, and he's been very kind by letting you gather grain with his young women. Tonight, he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor. Now, do as I tell you. Take a bath and put on perfume and dress in your nicest clothes. Then go to the threshing floor, but don't let Boaz see you until he has finished eating and drinking. Be sure to notice where he lies down, and then go and uncover his feet and lie down there. He will tell you what to do." "I will do everything you say," Ruth replied. So she went down to the threshing floor that night and followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. After Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he lay down at the far end of the pile of grain and went to sleep. Then Ruth came quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over. He was surprised to find a woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer." "May Yahuwah bless you, my daughter," Boaz exclaimed. "You are showing even more family loyalty now than you did before, for you have not gone after a younger man, whether rich or poor. Now don't worry about a thing, my daughter. I will do what is necessary, for everyone in town knows you are a virtuous woman. But while it is true that I am one of your family redeemers, there is another man who is more closely related to you than I am. Stay here tonight, and in the morning I will talk to him. If he is willing to redeem you, very well, let him marry you. But if he is not willing, then as surely as Yahuwah lives, I will redeem you myself. Now lie down here until morning." So Ruth lay at Boaz's feet until the morning, but she got up before it was light enough for the people to recognize each other. For Boaz had said, "No one must know that a woman was here at the threshing floor." Then Boaz said to her, "Bring your cloak and spread it out." He measured 6 scoops of barley in the cloak and placed it on her back. Then he returned to the town. When Ruth went back to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "What happened, my daughter?" Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had done for her. And she added, "He gave me these 6 scoops of barley and said, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said to her, "Just be patient, my daughter, until we hear what happens. The man won't rest until he has settled things today." Last chapter for the book of the last chapter for the book of Ruth. Ruth chapter 4. Boaz went to the town gate and took a seat there. Just then the family redeemer he had mentioned came by. So Boaz called out to him, come over here and sit down, friend. I want to talk to you. So they sat down together. Then Boaz called 10 leaders from the town and asked them to sit as witnesses. And Boaz said to the family redeemer, you know Naomi, who came back from Moab. She is selling the land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should speak to you about it so that you can redeem it if you wish. If you want the land, then buy it here in the presence of these witnesses. But if you don't want it, let me know right away, because I am next in line to redeem it after you. The man replied, all right, I'll redeem it. Then Boaz told him, of course, your purchase of the land from Naomi also requires that you marry Ruth, the Moabite widow, that she can have children who will carry on her husband's name and keep the land in the family. Then I can't redeem it, the family redeemer replied, because this might endanger my own estate. You redeem the land, I cannot do it. Now in those days, it was the custom in Israel for anyone transferring a right of purchase to remove his sandal and hand it to the other party. This publicly validated the transaction. So the other family redeemer drew off his sandal as he said to Boaz, you buy the land. Then Boaz said to the elders and the crowd standing around, you are witnesses that today I have bought from Naomi all the property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon, and with the land I have acquired Ruth, the Moabite widow of Mahlon, to be my wife. This way she can have a son to carry on the family name of her dead husband and to inherit the family property here in his hometown. You are all witnesses today. Then the elders and all the people standing in the gate replied, We are witnesses. May Yahuwah make this woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, from whom all the nation of Israel descended. May you prosper in Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. And may Yahuwah give you descendants by this young woman who will be like those of our ancestor Perez, the son of Tamar in Judah. So Boaz took Ruth into his home, and she became his wife. When he slept with her, Yahuwah enabled her to become pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. Then the women of the town said to Naomi, Praise Yahuwah, who has now provided a redeemer for your family. May this child be famous in Israel. May he restore your youth and care for you in your old age, for he is the son of your daughter-in-law, who loves you and has been better to you than 7 sons. Naomi took the baby and cuddled him in her breast, and she cared for him as if he were her own. The neighbor women said, Now at last Naomi has a son again, and they named him Obed. He became the father of Jesse, the grandfather of David. This is a genealogical record of their ancestor Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Ram. Ram was the father of Amminadab. Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Salmon was the father of Boaz. Boaz was the father of Obed. Obed was the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of David. All right, y'all, so we are done with the entire book of Ruth. That was 4 chapters, and tomorrow we start Samuel, one of my favorite books. Like, one of my favorite books, but y'all know me. Everything I read is my favorite for the most part. Let's hop on over here to the Legends of the Jews and pick up where we left off yesterday on page 420. We ended with David in paradise yesterday, and today we're going to pick up on the family of David, or Dawi. All right. David had 6 wives. Remember, we're in volume 4, page 420, the section entitled The Family of David. I forget which chapter we're on now. I think it's chapter 7? No, is it chapter 7? For those that need to know the chapter. I'm sorry. No, chapter 4. Okay. Volume 4, chapter 4, The Family of David. All right. David had 6 wives, including Michal, the daughter of Saul, who was called by the pet name Eglah, Calfkin, in the list given in the Bible narrative. Elga, or it has in parentheses, Calfkin, Calfkin. They have it in parentheses. David had 6 wives, including Michal, the daughter of Saul, who was called by the pet name Eglah Kafkin in the list given in the Bible narrative. Michal was of entrancing beauty and at the same time the model of a loving wife. Not only did she save David out of the hands of her father, but also when Saul, as her father and king, commanded her to marry another man, she acquiesced only apparently. She entered into a mock marriage in order not to arouse the anger of Saul, who had annulled her union with David on the grounds which he thought legal. Michal was good as well as beautiful. She showed such extraordinary kindness to the orphan children of her sister Merab that the Bible speaks of the 5 sons of Michal, whom she bore to Adriel. Adriel, however, was her brother-in-law and not her husband, but she had raised his children, treating them as though they were her own. Michal was no less a model of piety. Although the law exempted her as a woman from the duty, she executed the commandment of using phylacteries. In spite of all these virtues, she was severely punished by Yahuwah for her scorn of David, whom she reproached with lack of dignity when he had in mind only to do honor to Yahuwah. Long she remained childless, and at last, when she was blessed with a child, she lost her own life in giving birth to it. But the most important among the wives of David was Abigail, in whom beauty, wisdom, and prophetical gifts were joined. With Sarah, Rahab, and Esther, she forms the quartet of the most beautiful women in history. She was so bewitching that passion was aroused in men by the mere thought of her. Her cleverness showed itself during her first meeting with David, when, though anxious about the life of her husband Nabal, she still, with the utmost tranquility, put a ritual question to him in his rage. He refused to answer it because, he said, it was a question to be investigated by day, not by night. Thereupon Abigail interposed, the sentence of death likewise may be passed upon a man only during the day. Even if David's judgment were right, the law required him to wait until daybreak to execute it upon Nabal. David's objection that a rebel like Nabal had no claim upon due process of law, she overruled with the words, Saul is still alive, and thou art not yet acknowledged king by the world. Her charm would have made David her captive on this occasion if her moral strength had not kept him in check. Women, remember, you wield a lot of power, and you can keep the men in check if you use wisdom. But if you just as weak as he is, both of y'all gonna fall into sin, fall into somebody's bed, the floor, the cabinet, wherever you lay or wherever you stand. Somebody need to be the strong one. I'm gonna just read that again. Listen. It's women who holds the power of sex. We ain't talking about the instances where, y'all forbid, a woman is raped or she's overpowered by a man. Morning, Uncle James Brown. But women are the ones who are the gatekeepers to intimacy, right? A man cannot be intimate with a woman unless the woman consents, right? Okay. So women, you hold the power to a lot of this stuff that's going on in the world if you would but become chaste, right? The men would have to make the world, even if they didn't want to be, they would have to be, or they would need to go find some other route to relieve their passion, right? Her charm would have made David her captive on this occasion if her moral strength had not kept him in check. By means of the expression, and this shall not be unto thee, she made him understand that the day had not yet arrived, but that it would come when a woman, Bathsheba, would play a disastrous part in his life. Thus she manifested her gift of prophecy. Not even Abigail was free from the feminine weakness of coquetry. The words, "Remember thy handmaid," should have never been uttered by her. As a married woman, she should not have sought to direct the attention of a man to herself. In the women's paradise, she supervises the fifth of the 7 divisions into which it is divided, and her domain adjoins that of the wives of the patriarchs, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. Excuse me. Among the sons of David, Adonijah, the son of Haggith, must be mentioned particularly, the pretender to the throne. The 50 men whom he prepared to run before him had fitted themselves for the place of heralds by cutting out their spleen and the flesh of the soles of their feet. And then Adonijah was not designated for the royal dignity, was made manifest by the fact that the crown of David did not fit him. Pastor Darby said that often. Keep your legs closed. Yes, thank you. Lock it up. Clank, clank. Like, seriously, half of Israel's problems would be solved literally. I ain't even going to say overnight, but within hours, if all the women, and may Yahuwah drop that wisdom on all his women. I don't care how ratchet and what part of life they may be, but let all the women of Israel catch a clue, right? A lot of the sins and the torment that Israel currently experiences comes by that particular thing right there. I ain't talking about the married women. Let the married women keep on doing their thing, if it's with their husband. But if they acting crazy, deal with them, Father. But seriously, if women would take control of that right there, the men would have to straighten up. Now, of course, you're going to have some kickback. What? You ain't going to do what? You know, somebody else will. Yeah, then you go out there, and they were like, no, back up. No, you ain't getting none of this. Bye. You know, they get rah-rah for a good minute, but then know how to bring themselves in check, and they're going to realize, wait a minute, I got a problem. I'm out here searching for booty all the time. Let me do something with my life. Father, help me. Restore me. Help me to be strong. They're going to have to be strong because the women ain't going to give it up, right? So they're going to have to redirect that attention. They can take all that sexual energy and channel it in other directions. And it will, let me tell you something. Men who can channel their sexual energy and channel it in other places, especially in what they are good at and what their hands are good to do, these men become successful beyond all measure because they've learned how to control that part of their flesh, and they're able to redirect themselves and take that energy from there and convert it and make it energy over here, and they become successful. Like, it almost seems like overnight, but we know it's not overnight. It's a process, and they just got to take that frustration and go and work it out somewhere else. Some of them will take it and go in the gym. That's why you see a bunch of guys getting buff in jail. You doing push-ups. You got to work. Hey, look, you better stay away. Keep chains on the backside, you know. Don't hang out with the wrong crew if you're locked up. But they got to do something. You know, you got to take all that energy, channel it somewhere else, you know. Their bodies become in order, and they start thinking. They start thinking straight after they get over the initial mental fog from not being able to release in that way. If they learn how to control their bodies, and if they really learn how the body operates, they can take that energy and redirect it and shoot it up to the mind, to the brain, right? And it's like, poof, it'll open their third eye. I'm being funny, but I'm not. I'm serious. I'm just being funny in the way I said it, but seriously, that literally happens. I just explained it in a way where I didn't get all into the technical words and stuff, but essentially, that's what happens, right? If they can channel that sexual energy into their overall production of whatever it is that they're doing and that they're focusing on, these men become successful. They become affluent businessmen, builders, whatever they put their hands to, because they're like, Devon said, no, fam. I'm telling you, it's true. And it's hard. Listen now, look, if you're married, go ahead and do what you do now. I ain't telling y'all to slow down. But you will find out, though, when that energy, it becomes a whole different type of thing when you can indulge in this sexual energy with your spouse, and you both use that sexual energy to accomplish. Y'all talking about a power couple? Boy, look, we ain't got time to talk about this today, but I'm just saying, women hold that, right? You hold that power. If you're not married women, know how powerful that is. Hold on to it. Don't give it away to just any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Seriously, hold that. Give that to somebody. Like, you know how animals, I ain't saying you're an animal, but listen to the example I'm trying to give. You know how animals, the females, they out there and they're searching for the best male to give them children, and then it's like the males have to fight another male, or lions have to fight each other, to win the female lion, or what have you. You will see that happening among even human beings. The song and dance is a little bit different to win the hearts of women. If women would but stand in their rightful place and not just give it up like it's candy and give it out to everybody. You get some candy, and you get some candy, you get some candy too. Don't do that. Don't give your candy away to every man. Hold that candy for the one that deserves it, right? Hold it for him. Give that man all your candy. But what you will see happen is, because if a man is willing to fight for your candy, right, he has the strength to birth other men with the same character and caliber that he has, and may Yahuwah bless you with many sons with a mindset like the one that you pick. You pick the best from the little. Not the little. You get what I'm saying. You pick the best from, and then you go on, then y'all indulge in your candy together, right? And do some bigger and better things. All right. Let me go. Dana and Devon, y'all funny. Okay, look. Okay, let me go back to candy. I got some candy for you, baby. Okay, I'm live. Let's not start here. Okay. The 50 men hold on. The 50 men whom he prepared. What you say? Okay, Mr. Murphy, stop it. The 50 men whom he prepared to run before him had fitted themselves for the place of heralds by cutting out their spleen and the flesh of the soles of their feet. That Adonijah was not designated for the royal dignity was made manifest by the fact that the crown of David did not fit him. This crown had the remarkable peculiarity of always fitting the legitimate king of the house of David. Uncle Snooky said, get a room.
Oh. You got a house.
Well, I'm about to say we got a whole house. No, we just need a babysitter. Somebody come get all these kids. Just for the time being. Stop. Look, I'm trying to create some time for us. Okay, you come babysit over here, and we'll go out. Look, okay. This crown had the remarkable peculiarity of always fitting the legitimate king of the house of David. Look, Dana said her husband Divine said, end the call quick, give that man some candy. Oh, Lord. Chilead was a son worthy of his mother Abigail. The meaning of his name is like the father which had been given him because of his striking resemblance to David in appearance, a circumstance that silenced the talk against David's all too hasty marriage with the widow of Nabal. Intellectually, too, Chilead testified to David's paternity. In fact, he excelled his father in learning, as he did even the teacher of David, Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan. Alicia. On the account of his piety, he is one of the few who have entered paradise alive. Tamar cannot be called one of the children of David because she was born before her mother's conversion to Hebrew. Consequently, her relation to Ammon is not quite of the grave nature it would have been had oh, okay. Consequently, her relation to Ammon is not quite of the grave nature it would have been had they been sister and brother in the strict sense of the terms. To the immediate household of David belonged 400 young squires, the sons of women taken captive in battle. They wore their hair in heathen fashion, and sitting in golden chariots, they formed the vanguard of the army and terrified the enemy by their appearance. When David was buried, Solomon put abundant treasures into his tomb. 1,300 years later, the high priest Hyrcanus took 1,000 of the talents of the money secreted there to use in preventing the siege of Jerusalem by the Greek king Antiochus. King Herod also extracted sums, but none of the marauders could penetrate the resting place of the kings. Next to David, his successors were interred, for it was sunk into the earth so skillfully that it could not be found. Once upon a time, a Muslim pasha visited the mausoleum, and as he was looking through the window in it, a weapon of his ornamented with diamonds and pearls dropped into the tomb. A Mohammedan was lowered through the window to fetch the weapon. When he was drawn up again, he was dead, and 3 other Mohammedans who tried to enter the same way met the fate of their comrade. At the instigation of the Qadi, the Pasha informed the rabbi of Jerusalem that the Hebrews would be held responsible for the restoration of the weapon. The rabbi ordered a 3 days fast to be spent in prayer. Then lots were cast to designate the messenger who was charged with the perilous errand. The lot fell upon the beadle of the synagogue, a pious and upright man. He secured the weapon and returned it to the Pasha, who manifested his gratitude by kindly treatment of the Hebrews thereafter. The beadle later told of his adventures in the tomb to the Hakim Bashi. When he had descended, there suddenly appeared before him an old man of dignified appearance and handed him what he was seeking. Another miraculous tale concerning the tomb of David runs as follows. A poor but very pious Hebrew washerwoman was once persuaded by the keeper of the tomb to enter it. Hardly was she within when the man nailed up the entrance and ran to the Qadi to inform him that a Hebrew woman had gone in. And since the Qadi hastened to open the spot with the intention of having the woman burnt for her presumptuousness, in her terror, the poor creature had begun to weep and implore Yahuwah for help. Suddenly, a flood of light illuminated the dark tomb, and a venerable old man took her by the hand and led her downward under the earth until she reached the open. There he parted from her with the words, "Hasten homeward and let none know that thou wert away from thy house." The Qadi had returned, and the Qadi had the tomb and its surroundings thoroughly searched by his bailiffs, but not a trace of the woman could be discovered, although the keeper again and again swore by the prophet that the woman had entered. Now the messengers whom the Qadi had sent to the house of the woman returned and reported they found her washing busily, and greatly astonished at their question whether she had been at the tomb of David. The Qadi accordingly decided that for his false statements and his perjury, the keeper must die the very death intended for the innocent woman, so he was burnt. Like I'm telling you, remember I tell y'all, there's a lot of look. I just saw your last comment, your last 2 comments, Dana. Look, Yahuwah, for women who are righteous and that keep Yahuwah's law, statutes, and commands, when they get into trouble, like seriously, at the point of death, when they're about to be accused for doing some unrighteous deed, Yahuwah always shows up for them. But a lot of that wasn't canonized, because we know who canonized the Bible. They chose to put in what they wanted to put in. They left out a lot of stuff about the women, right? And they used that. You can tell how they used that to begin oppressing the women, like we see it still happening a lot over in like the areas that are completely filled with Muslims and stuff like that. Even the Muslim faith or religion, it was never really from the beginning. These were the grandsons of Abraham, right? So you got the Muslims and stuff, which is the cousins of the Hebrews. But what they believed in, which was really Yahuwah and Yahuwah alone, has over the years have been infiltrated by imposters, and they've changed it into a whole religion, and they've changed it from what it originally was, right? And remember, they call Yahuwah Allah, but Allah is a general term, just like God is a general term, right? But if you do the research and kind of study back, you will see where it began to change, and it began to take a whole different meaning on, rather from what the original Muslims, and I'm doing a little air pumps parenthesis things, from what the original they weren't Muslims, right? But they had the same faith of the sons, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But as the times and people from other nations wanted to rule and got in power, they decided to. I mean, it was always a split between the cousins because of the brothers or whatever. But they brought a deeper divide through these times and further separated the cousins, and now it's like this all-out war, like they're serving another God. And now the imposters, I don't doubt that they are serving another God, right? But those who know who they are and where they descend from, who are labeled Muslims, are not really Muslims at all. They really serve Yahuwah. And matter of fact, they have more of the pure language than we do, because they haven't been scattered from the land, right? They're still there. So when you hear them speak, they speak in some of the original terms of who the people are. They can kind of give you a better history, right? But they didn't abuse the women like you see it today, and what we see portrayed on the movies and entertainment and everything. That's never the way it was. And those who canonized the Bible did it in a certain fashion where they could take rule over all people and the sexes, and they put women like they were under the men. When Yahuwah had created them equal, they were to be partners, right? None had more power than the other. They had different positions, but they were to work in conjunction, right? You can't have one without the power. Like you have a plug and you have a socket. They are worthless on their own. The power doesn't happen until you join them together. Both of them are as equally powerful, and the power doesn't happen until they're properly joined together, right? So the socket has a power all of its own, and the plug has a power all of its own, right? You got the male, which is the plug, and you got the socket, which is the female. The male goes into the female, and voila, life is given, right? Or power is given. That's the way it always is. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. All right. So women, know that if you're doing what's right and you stand before the Most Holy in all that you do, I ain't saying you got to be super religious and just crazy. No. I'm just saying you live an upright, decent life, and you strive to do what is right, right? You can cry out to the Most Holy, and He will hear you all the time, and He will fight for you, right? Okay. The Qadi accordingly decided that for his false statements and his perjury, the keeper must die the very death intended for the innocent woman, so he was burnt. The people of Jerusalem suspected a miracle, but the woman did not divulge her secret until a few hours before her death. She told her story and then bequeathed her possessions to the congregation under the condition that a scholar recite the Kaddish for her on each anniversary of her death. We are in chapter 5, y'all, in Solomon. Let's start reading about Solomon. Okay, we're about to read about some stuff with Solomon. I've been talking about this since we started. Now we're here. Okay. At the youthful age of 12, Solomon succeeded his father David as king. His real name was Jedediah. So Solomon's real name, y'all, was Jedediah, the friend of Yahuwah. But it was superseded by the name Solomon on the account of the peace that prevailed throughout the realm during his reign. He bore 3 other names besides: Ben, Jakeh, and Ithiel. He was called Ben because he was the builder of the temple, Jakeh because he was the ruler of the whole world, and Ithiel because Yahuwah was with him. The rebellion Adonijah intended to lead against the future king was suppressed during David's lifetime by having Solomon anointed in public. On that occasion, Solomon rode upon a remarkable she-mule, remarkable because she was not the product of crossbreeding, but of a special act of creation. As soon as he ascended the throne, Solomon set about executing the instructions his father had given him on his deathbed. The first of them was the punishment of Joab. Notwithstanding all his excellent qualities, which fitted him to be not only David's first general, but also the president of the academy, Joab had committed great crimes which had to be atoned for. Besides the murder of Abner and Amasa, of which he was guilty, he had incurred wrong against David himself. The generals of the army suspected him of having had Uriah the Hittite put out of the way for purposes of his own, whereupon he showed them David's letter dooming Uriah. David might have forgiven Joab, but he wanted him to expiate his sins in this world so that he might be exempt from punishment in the world to come. When Joab perceived that Solomon intended to have him executed, he sought the protection of the temple. He knew full well that he could not save his life in this way, for the arm of justice reaches beyond the doors of the sanctuary to the altar of Yahuwah. What he wished was to be accorded a regular trial and not suffer death by the king's order. In the latter case, he would lose fortune as well as life, and he was desirous of leaving his children well provided for. Thereupon Solomon sent word to him that he had no intention of confiscating his estates. Though he was convinced of Joab's guilt, Solomon nevertheless granted him the privilege of defense. The king questioned him, Why did thou kill Abner? Joab, I was the avenger of my brother Asahel, whom Abner had slain. Solomon, why it was Asahel sought to kill Abner, and Abner acted in self-defense. Joab, Abner might have disabled Asahel without going to extremes. Solomon, that Abner could not do. Joab, what? Abner aimed directly at Asahel's 5th rib, and thou would say that he could not have managed to wound him lightly? Solomon, very well, then we shall drop Abner's case. But why did thou slay Amasa? Joab, he acted rebelliously towards King David. He omitted to execute his order to gather an army within 3 days. For that offense, he deserved to suffer the death penalty. Solomon, Amasa failed to obey the king's order because he had been taught by our sages that even a king's injunction may be set at defiance if they involve the neglect of the study of Torah, which was the case with the order given to Amasa. And indeed, continued Solomon, it was not Amasa, but thou thyself who did rebel against the king, for thou were about to join Absalom, and if thou didst refrain, it was from fear of David's strong-fisted troops. When Joab saw that death was inevitable, he said to Benaiah, who was charged with the execution of the king's order, Tell Solomon he cannot inflict 2 punishments upon me. If he expects to take my life, he must remove the curse pronounced by David against me and my descendants on the account of slaying Abner. If not, he cannot put me to death. Solomon realized the justness of the plea. By executing Joab, he transferred David's curse to his own posterity, Rehoboam, his son, was afflicted with the issue. Uzziah suffered with leprosy. Asa had to lean on a staff when he walked. The pious Josiah fell by the sword of Pharaoh, and Jeconiah lived off charity. So the imprecations of David were accomplished on his own family instead of Joab's. The marriage of Solomon. The next to suffer Joab's fate was Shimei ben Gera, whose treatment of David had outraged every feeling of decency. His death was of evil portent for Solomon himself. So long as Shimei, who was Solomon's teacher, was alive, he did not venture to marry the daughter of Pharaoh. When, after Shimei's death, Solomon took her to wife, the archangel Gabriel descended from heaven and inserted a reed in the sea. About this reed, more and more earth was gradually deposited, and on the day on which Jeroboam erected the golden calves, a little hut was built upon the island. This was the first of the dwelling places of Rome. Solomon's wedding feast in celebration of his marriage with the Egyptian princess came on the same day as the consecration of the temple. The rejoicing over the king's marriage was greater than over the completion of the temple. As the proverb has it, all pay flattery to a king. Then it was that Yahuwah conceived the plan of destroying Jerusalem. It was as the prophet spoke, "This city hath been moved to me, a provocation of my anger and of my fury from the day that they built it, even unto this day." In the nuptial night, Pharaoh's daughter had her attendants play upon 1,000 different musical instruments, which she had brought with her from her home. And as each was used, the name of the idol to which it was dedicated was mentioned aloud. The better to hold the king under the spell of her charms, she spread above his bed a tapestry cover studded with diamonds and pearls, which gleamed and glittered like the constellations in the sky. Whenever Solomon wanted to rise, he saw these stars, and thinking it was still night, he slept on until the 4th hour of the morning. The people were plunged in grief, for the daily sacrifice could not be brought on this very morning of the temple dedication, because the temple keys lay under Solomon's pillow, and none dared to awaken him. Word was sent to Bathsheba, who forthwith aroused her son and rebuked him for his sloth. "Thy father," she said, "was known to all as a God-fearing man, and now the people will say, 'Solomon is the son of Bathsheba. It is his mother's fault if he goes wrong.'" Whenever thy father's wives were pregnant, they offered vows and prayed that a son worthy to reign might be born unto them. But my prayer was for a learned son worthy of the gift of prophecy. Take care, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to them that destroy kings, for licentiousness confounds the reason of man. Now we know where they took this and put this at. Proverbs 31. So all of you who did not know who was speaking in the beginning, it was Solomon's own mother, Bathsheba, that speaks at the beginning of Proverbs chapter 31, the virtuous woman. She's talking to her son. "O son, do not give thy strength to women." If y'all didn't know that, I thought that was a common thing, but just in case you didn't know, that was Bathsheba speaking at the beginning. Okay. Let me go back up here. Whenever thy father's wives were pregnant, they offered vows and prayed that a son worthy to reign might be born unto them. But my prayer was for a learned son worthy of the gift of prophecy. Take care, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to them that destroy kings, for licentiousness confounds the reason of man. Keep well in mind the things that are necessary in the life of a king, not kings, Lemuel. Oh, look. Keep well in mind the things that are necessary in the life of a king, not kings, Lemuel. Have naught in common with kings who say, "What need have we of a God?" Is it not meet that thou shouldest do like unto the kings who drink wine and live in lewdness? Be not like unto them. He whom the secrets of the world are revealed should not intoxicate himself with wine. Apart from having married a Gentile whose conversion to a Hebrew was not dedicated by pure motives, Solomon transgressed 2 other biblical laws. He kept many horses, which a Jewish king or which a Hebrew king ought not to do. And what the law holds in equal abhorrence, he amassed much silver and gold. So listen, had all this been canonized with everything else that was canonized about King Solomon and about King David, a lot of our men who have woken up just to fall back to sleep because they have other unlearned men teaching them that, oh, our ancestors had multiple wives. You can have as many wives as you can take care of, right? But didn't it say a king? And y'all hear me say this even when we're reading through the book of Kings. The last couple years reading through, I brought this out. Yahuwah said kings are not that Yahuwah won't bless you, right? But Yahuwah will bring that blessing. But you are not to amass silver and gold. You're not to heap it up to yourself. There's a difference from heaping up things to yourself just for the sake of you being rich and wealthy. That's different from heaping up things for disbursement for the better of your overall kingdom. Like what Joseph wasn't the king, but he was next under Pharaoh. Pharaoh is also another word for king, right? But like what Joseph did, like storing up things not for himself, for his own pleasure, but in later times to use it for the disbursement of the people who had need, right? Not that you're just going to constantly be giving your stuff away to people who need, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? In order to make your kingdom better, okay, we're going to acquire this because we can take this and we can use this over here and we can create schools to teach the children, not just, I got this house, I got this, you see how many bands I got? Oh, that's not what we're talking about, right? That's not what you're supposed to do, but wealth can be gathered into the kingdom for the overall betterment of your kingdom, right? Okay. Apart from having married a Gentile whose conversion to Hebrew was not dedicated by pure motives, Solomon transgressed 2 other biblical laws. He kept many horses, and remember what the king does, the men of his kingdom will also think it's well to do. So if the king got multiple wives, how come I can't have multiple wives? I can take care of you and I can take care of her. No, you would say don't do that, right? It's going to be a bunch of strife. And although that's what happened, it was the women a lot of times was like, look, I can't have children right now. Go ahead and marry sis. I can be a sister wife with her. We'll get you a son. That son will be mine. And we just going to do this thing. Nope, that is not the way Yahuwah said we're going to do this thing, right? Because all women have the ability to reproduce multiple children. It's really just up to that woman and that man. Oh, we're going to have 10, we're going to have 20, we're just going to have 2. Like, y'all can choose that. And if you go for the big family, you got to keep your body in check. You got to keep it in line. You got to do some exercise. You got to eat right. Keep it in working order so you can keep pushing out your inheritance, right? All right, okay. Y'all get it. Apart from having married a Gentile whose conversion to Judaism, or I keep saying Judaism, it has Judaism in here, but it really should not be that, whose conversion to Hebrew was not dedicated by pure motives, Solomon transgressed 2 other biblical laws. He kept many horses, which a Hebrew king ought not to do, and what the law holds in equal abhorrence, he amassed much silver and gold. Under Solomon's rule, silver and gold were so abundant among the people that their utensils were made from them instead of the baser metals. For all this, he had to atone painfully later on. His wisdom. Okay. We should probably stop right here, because this is this section, his wisdom. Y'all. I want to read it so bad, y'all. But it's Thursday. I know some of y'all got to go to work. We just going to stop right here because we already an hour and 5 minutes, y'all. We're going to pick up right here tomorrow. I'm sorry. I really want to read it. I really do. But we're going to pause right here. So get ready for it tomorrow. So this next section is It's actually almost 4 pages long. 1, 2, 3. But yeah, for this little section, it's 4 pages long. Just this right here of his wisdom. But it is so good. If you want to read ahead, go ahead, or you can jump into the comment section. Go to the YouTube video where it's recorded, and you can listen to it. It's so good. But we'll pick this up tomorrow right here, y'all. So we read all of Ruth, chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we read Legends of the Jews. We started on page 420, and we stopped on page 423. It's going to be good, y'all. It's going to be so good. All right, y'all. So it is, let me put this right here. It is Thursday, March the 18th, 2021. Day 105 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 774. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead over here and read the blessing. Remember, y'all, we are preparing for Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. So make sure y'all start cleaning the yeast out your house and keep it out your house for the whole 7-day festival. All right, y'all, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. A man or a woman can take the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, y'all. That's it for today. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Everybody got to get to work. For those who are working away from the home, be safe, and may you be blessed in all that you do in your travels to and from your job. May you get back home safely to your family. All right, y'all. And everybody that's working from home, may Yahuwah bless you in your home, keep it safe, and cause you to prosper in all that you put your hands to. May Yahuwah give all y'all business ideas. If you work for somebody else, may he give you business ideas and drop wisdom upon you where you can come up from under the hand of another ruler and begin to rule yourself as a child of the most holy God of Israel, right? And so may everybody be blessed with business ideas and witty inventions and all those things, right? Captivity is over. Yahuwah is restoring us to our senses. Get some wisdom, y'all. Get some understanding. And in all you're getting, get understanding, right? Because you cannot have wisdom without understanding. Get the knowledge or the raw data. And once you understand that raw data, you can now turn that raw data into wisdom and apply it to your life, right? All right. So in all you're getting, get understanding. All right, I love y'all, and I will see y'all bright and early on the morrow, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bruce, love y'all.